please welcome actress Priyanka Chopra to the stage. May I ask Ms. Gillard to the stage, please. May I invite Matthew Prempe, His Excellency Matthew Prempe, Ghanaian Minister of Education, please. And may I, last but not least, invite Sunny Varki, the founder of our organization. Good luck. Please. Thank you all for agreeing to do this segment. I want to speak to each one of you regarding areas which I think make a huge difference, and your perspectives would help to provide an insight to the delegates who are here today. I want to start off with Ms. Chopra. You have worked with UNICEF very actively, and you were recently named a global ambassador for them. What is the cause that resonates most with you?
Well, I think first and foremost, good morning, everyone. Good morning to everybody here. Thank you so much for turning up in such abundance. This is an extremely important conversation that the world needs to have. I think the one thing that we're all here to discuss today, which is education, that's such a big cause that I am hugely attached to, not because I'm some prolific a person who wants to change the world, but I think it's such a simple, basic logic to the fact that education empowers people. Education, just the fact that you have the ability to take your future in your own hands is a basic human right that cannot be denied to any child around the world. I've been associated with UNICEF over a decade now, and I was recently in Jordan at a refugee camp for Syrian children. And I had the fortune to spend about 2 days with them, going through the camps, the Zatari camps, and a bunch of camps that UNICEF had set up for these kids to be able to have access to education. And the one thing that really stood out to me starkly was that these are children who are so vulnerable to influences from around the world. These are children who can immediately feel that the world has forgotten about me. Nobody cares about me. And instead of a pen in their hand, it's very easy for them to hold on to a rifle. Just like Muhammad said, to be influenced into taking charge of my life in some other way, because no one cares about my future. And that stood out to me so much. These children just wanted school books. They wanted to be able to go to school, become astronauts, become doctors, become engineers. And every child that I spoke to in that camp wanted to return back to Syria and rebuild it. And education is what gives them that. There's a whole generation of children. When we're talking about 2030, considering the world today, there's a whole generation of kids and a whole generation we might lose if they don't have that access. So that's the cause that's most important to me.
Thank you so much. It flows very nicely to what I want to ask Ms. Gillard. Ms. Gillard was the former Prime Minister of Australia and now is the current chair of the Global Partnership for Education. Ms. Gillard, the state of the world seems very fractured, to say the least.
To say the least.
And in terms of political leadership, what do we do to strengthen political leadership to make sure that these situations that Ms. Chopra speaks about are actually dealt with effectively?
Thanks for such an easy question. You did warn me you were going to ask me about the state of the world. Can I just start by saying thank you to Sunny, to the Varki family and to you for bringing us all together, and I'm delighted to be here again and to be in the UAE, the most recent donor to join the Global Partnership for Education. So terrific to be here. When we look at the world today, I think there are so many forces that are trying to get people to turn inwards and to turn against others. You know, that's the tide of global politics, whether it's what we see coming from the US administration, whether we look at Brexit in the United Kingdom. There's a lot of messages that say it's all too hard, just turn inwards, look after your own and don't worry about the rest. And I think to engage the highest level political leadership in outreach Number one, we've got to reinforce community faith that change is possible. And whilst we come to conferences like this one and we get, very intrigued by issues in education, I think it's really important the message we send as a collective is actually we can do this if we want to. We can educate every child in the world. It's not beyond us. Yes, there are always more things to learn and to know about, but if we as a global community said we're going to get this done, then we would. So to reinvest in community faith that change is possible, and then to bolster community demand for that change by explaining how interconnected we are today. In today's world, you might think you can kind of shield yourself away, but actually what's happening in a refugee camp in Jordan, whether a child in Sierra Leone picks up a pen or picks up a gun, ultimately that will end up manifesting in whether or not every individual lives in a stable and prosperous world or the alternative, a fractured world. So yes, we can do it, and yes, there's a reason why everybody should care about getting it done. And if we can get that community understanding bolstered, then that I think then supports the political leadership to move forward instead of selling some of the messages that we see so commonly sold by politicians today.
What do you do about political leadership that moves forward without its community or constituents?
Well, I mean, in democracies, you can only move forward so long without bringing people with you. Yes, we see some tremendous and brave acts of leadership, but ultimately, if you don't bring your community with you, then come the next election, there will be a backlash, there will be a change. So there has to be, a dialogue here between political leaders who are showing courage and who are on the right track, communities that are demanding more and more change in a positive direction. Communities can sometimes drag politicians, politicians can sometimes drag communities, but it's not sustainable if one is over here and one is over there and they're not coming together around a shared agenda.
And why do you think, sorry, last question to you, but why do you think, both Mohammed said it, you said it, why do you think it is such a big deal that the UAE, that the fact that the UAE has contributed towards a GP replenishment of $100 million?
I think it's so important because it sends a message that this is truly being viewed by nations around the world as a shared global task. There are some fantastic long-term donors in global development and in the education area. The European Union, the United Kingdom, many of the Scandinavian and Nordic countries, year after year have put in a lot of money. My own nation of Australia has historically put in a lot of money. But when you go back to them, they do say, well, we want to see a broadening of who's engaged in this agenda, and I think the UAE stepping forward in such a major way has really gladdened people's hearts that there is an understanding right around the world that we should be educating the world's children, that this is a shared endeavour, and I'm just so thankful to the UAE that they made that decision and announced it at our replenishment conference.
Thank you so much. Rightly so. Your Excellency, Dr. Prempeh, you are a recent education minister in Ghana, the person in the job that has to make the difference. You recently voted, if I'm not mistaken, the best minister in your government. And that's exactly what we need. We want the best teachers in classroom. We want the best people to be ministers of education. Sir, tell me, we work with you in Ghana on girls' education and on teachers' training. What is the secret sauce? How do we make sure that all girls are in school and learning?
We hope that if we understand what it means by education, you cannot leave anybody aside. And in my country, there are more girls than boys. So if you want to make an impact in education, you have to first see the relevance of girls' education in every sector of the society, not those girls-dominated sectors, but everywhere. So we have specific programs to bring girls from out of school back to the classroom and to stay in the classroom till they don't want any longer. But girls' education is so relevant because it leads to a shorter, what we call national education. We have education on the local level, on the individual level, the person, and the global level. And if you want to build a society that is sustainable, you really have to educate your girls. And this society that doesn't educate its women or ladies or girls is a society bound to fail. So we see the challenge that if we are to move forward as a country called Ghana, to play a relevant role in the global society, we first have to concentrate on our girl child.
So I believe you have an announcement to make today. Please do share it with everyone.
Probably want to preempt me, but considering the fantastic work the Vaki Foundation is doing in Ghana, leveraging technology to help teacher education, student education, we think that what is missing in our country is about school leadership and management. And we want to partner with Vaki Foundation to bring your skills and your knowledge you have acquired elsewhere to help us improve learning outcomes through school leadership and school management.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. A big round of applause. Mr. Vaki, you speak about education quite a lot. You're a very successful entrepreneur. You set up this foundation. I know what matters to you is the subject of inculcating good values in children. Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yep, thank you, Vikas. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you all to coming to this conference. And of course, all the very important experts and VVIPs and stars like yourself, Priyanka and Julian, for coming to this conference and giving us your words of wisdom. I always have felt that schools are more than maths and science. As an educator, it's our duty to make sure that children are well educated. They go to the university of their choice and end up probably finding the job that they're passionate about. However, I think the world is in chaos, and I think children should be taught about the values, international values, where there is respect, there is sharing, caring, and to be a global citizen, to make sure that when they are successful, they are able to look after the underprivileged of the world.
You've also spoken a lot about technology.
I'm the wrong person, Vikas.
You're famous for not even sending emails. So True. Tell us about your views on technology.
Yeah.
I understand it, Mr. Vaki, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually, it's true that I don't even send an email. Not that it's difficult, but somehow I've just been not good at it. But one thing I do hear that people say that robots are going to replace teachers and so on, and I personally feel that it's not going to happen because teachers explain, encourage, and inspire students, and children want to do better and work harder for a good teacher. That being said, any technology that can help teachers to teach better would be highly welcome.
Fantastic. Robots will never replace teachers, he says.
God, I hope not.
Ms. Chopra, the final question to you. You have achieved a lot in India and in South Asia. You now live in the US and you have broken into the American film industry. Your story is one that of being a global citizen. Do you think we can ever teach children to be global citizens?
I think that's the need of the hour right now. I've traveled all over the world. I've had the amazing good fortune to work in many, many countries around the world, to meet a lot of people, to understand sort of cultures and sentiments, because I've worked with wonderful people. But I think what has happened around the globe, and this is not just South Asia, India, America, we are still bound by borders and geography. We're still bound by race and language. We are still bound by seeing our differences instead of applauding and understanding that eventually we're a human race. And we've forgotten our humanity. So I think being a global citizen is exactly that it doesn't matter where a child comes from. It doesn't matter whether he or she is from Sierra Leone, the UAE, India, America. Each child needs to have the right to be able to bring this world to a place which thinks about humanity over whose God is better, or which country is better, or a division. I think, so being a global citizen and being a global community is important, but I think children are not there yet because we haven't been able to inculcate those values that you talk about, sir, into saying that there's not a difference. Our differences is what makes us unique, but coming together is what will make the world so much better than reading the newspapers as we do this, like these days, and waking up every day to something that all of us are being desensitized to now.
Your comments made me smile because I see Professor Fernando Remus standing over there. Please stand up, sir. He has written a book on global citizenship that every teacher should learn and read. Ms. Chopra, final question.
Right.
I promise you. Donald Trump.
Right. I'm so glad this question's come to me.
Living in America today, you're the only person who lives in America today from this panel, so you're qualified to comment on this. You see a lot of people who come out against him, and you see all the things that he tweets about. As an American, what do you feel?
As an American?
As an Indian who lives in America.
As an Indian
who lives in America.
Lives in America on a work visa. Let's remember that.
So I think you may have answered it, but what is your message? Ma'am, you see in the film industry in particular, and you see society, the hashtag #MeToo movement and whatever it is. What are the lessons we should take out of this? And I think we'll conclude this panel on that question.
I think I answered your question on Trump for sure, but I think that, when it comes to what has happened with the internet and the fact that people have suddenly, it's such an incredible time to be a global citizen right now because people, no matter where in the world they are, can have a conversation and are empowered to be able to bring their thoughts together. Women have support from other women, which is such a shocking revelation, which doesn't really happen because women are always pitted against each other. Today, somebody can have an opinion, like if you see the protest that happened, that children did in the United States just yesterday against gun control. This is empowerment. This is a generation of people that are coming out and saying, I am not going to stand for it anymore. Hashtag time's up on every level. So I do think I see hope. I see hope for this generation. I see all of us. Thank you. I see all of us coming here, sitting here together, heads of states, educators, talent, artists, coming together with the same agenda that 2030, by then, hopefully, should be a different world for the generation that we're living in today. Kids should not be subjected to the things that they are. They should be given books. They should be imagining their future. They should not have to worry about being shot in a classroom. And that goes for something that's around the world. So I see hope. I see all of us coming here together to bring hope to this exact thing that we're all trying to do, which is make the world a better place, and through education.
On that note, please thank our panel. Please.